just the corruption of I mean, all of us are corrupt in one way or another. So I'm not on some high horse here. I mean, to be a human is to be fallen. But you're right. People that beat folks over the head with the Bible, that runs people off. But you look at this mark of the beast, this world government, all this stuff coming down on us, it'll make you get religion. Anything else, Jason?
Yes, Alex. For you to say that you're corrupt, it makes me laugh. The majority of this planet is in a totally complete blind state. You are bringing light, my brother, and your reward's in heaven. I love you.
Well, I love all of you out there as well. Thank you for the call and those kind words. What I'm saying is I do have a lot of light. I do have a lot of discernment, and so I know what I am. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. I mean, they say if you think it in your heart, that's pretty much doing it. And I think, somebody cuts me off in traffic, and I think about beating their brains out. I mean, that is not good, because the thought could be acted on. I've got to get myself where I don't do that. But you're right. Most people are completely delusional, have been given over to delusion, and have no idea what's going on. I mean, that's what's so crazy about this. When you're awake, it's like all around you. You see it everywhere. And then for people, that's why the propaganda of the New World Order seems so silly and childlike. I mean, I saw the White House publicly funded and run George Soros group, Media Matters. I saw like 500 articles a few weeks ago saying there are no drones, and there's no plan for drones, and I'm a big liar and all the rest of it. And then I ran across Media Matters. They were the ones that originally put it out. And they act like a public watchdog group that are nonpartisan when they're run by the White House. That's come out. Just look it up. And they have weekly meetings with the president and all the rest of it. And even their own commenters. In fact, I meant to, in fact, guys, remind me tomorrow to show their own article. Of course, they may expunge it by then. But it's demonizing me and saying I'm a liar and everybody else is a liar. And Megyn Kelly or whatever her name was, Fox is an idiot. They're saying that. And then almost every one of their commenters is like, hey, this is Big Brother. We're losing our rights. We're being spied on. There are drones. I saw one in my town. My governor said they're using them. They arrested a guy out of his farm the other day, with one of these. Wait a minute. No, these drones are real. So the mainline liberals who usually drink the Mao Zedong Kool-Aid aren't even buying it anymore. That's what I'm saying here. I mean, listen, folks, this is bad for all of us. 98% of us, this is going to be bad for. 99.9%. Let's jam another call. Mike in Seattle. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. It's great. I'm a first-time caller. I've been listening to your show for quite a while.
Well, that's good, because I shouldn't have gone to you right now. I'm going to come right back to you after this break. I apologize. Final segment straight ahead. I'm so many years doing radio on the weekday clock, noon to 3 Eastern. I am got that so in my mind that I forget we have like 10, 11-minute segments here. And then I'm always going to callers when I shouldn't be. So we're going to come back to you in the final segment. Mike, Marcia, Angie, Aaron, and Don. I'll at least get to those calls straight ahead. And there's a bunch of other news I didn't get to, but I covered a lot of it. Roberts is making jokes, saying he's got to live in Malta, an impregnable fortress, after his vote. Ha, ha, ha. I mean, look, again, appointed by Bush. What a joke, ladies and gentlemen. The health care bill is the opposite of constitutional, and the IRS will now shake you down for the money. Hope you enjoy it. We always watch the Drudge Report, drudgereport.com. Lower right-hand corner is the incredibly important article. Google shopping censors all gun, ammo, and accessory results. That just went up there, so out of the folks over there. And I told Paul Watson, I just called him over in England because he was the first to post that article from firearmsblog.com. And I was like, Paul, this should be in features on our website. This is a big deal. And, of course, he's great. I'm the same way. We're so bombarded with this tyranny that we tend to not even realize how serious things are. I mean, I know that's an understatement, but we're all being acclimated. I mean, take this article. I've got to cover this. I've got to read this and print the Polestar Project, the UN Climate Research Group's findings, because this writer for Prisonplanet did a great job, Suzanne Posel. Her site, that I'm going to your calls, is Occupy Corporatism. And she links to these UN-funded NGOs and groups that are calling for a world police state, basically, and all these horrible draconian activities. And then the headline is, UN asked how many people could live on the planet Earth. The real headline, if you actually really wanted to... See, we don't want to be tabloid-esque, but reality is so much more sensational, so we always tend to downplay things. People think, oh, this show's exaggerating. No, we're not. It's like that caller from Australia. He goes, well, I walk up to members of parliament and tell them I don't want the carbon tax. 90% of us don't want it. And I know he was telling the truth. I've seen the polls. I follow what happens over there because it's a bellwether. And he goes, no, it's just shop owners aren't allowed to say that's why prices went up. Yeah, exactly. You get arrested or fined. And it starts with them. That's their free speech, too. They need to put on the bill that's why it went up. Everything with the globalists is about hiding taxes. Why most people have money taken out of their paycheck. So they don't really ever see the money. Try being an actual business person who has a bunch of employees. It's hellish, the taxes, okay? All these fines and fees, and Texas has a sales tax, folks, but Texas also has income tax for businesses. It's a business tax, and they've got a hospital tax, and they've got these sniveling inspectors. And this is not Texas anymore, let me tell you. This state is changing. I love my state, but boy, I tell you, we're going to hell in a handbasket. Mike in Seattle, thanks for holding. Now you're on the air.
All right, thanks, Alex. I've been trying to figure this out for a while. I heard Tarpley on your show the other day, and you said a few things about him being hung up on some kind of feel-good, big government fantasy. But I'm thinking to myself, the only thing that can possibly put these international bankers out of London under control and get them out of our money supply is the federal government, the U.S. federal government.
But the federal government is so full of crooks, we'll just trade out the foreign bankers for them. I mean, they share power. They helped build this corrupt system since 1913.
Well, the Federal Reserve needs to go, but it needs to come back under a U.S. bank, in the similar one that we had under Alexander Hamilton, and similar types of federal credit
Sure. Well, people say to me, well, wait, you have on Ron Paul, who supports gold and silverback, and you have Tarpley, who wants a U.S. bank. That's so everybody can hear all the options and have a debate about it. Monetary education. It doesn't mean I endorse either one. We need to get the public to know how to tie their shoelaces economically first.
I really respect Ron Paul's position on keeping the U.S. forces in out of harm's way and on these ridiculous imperial war missions. But when it comes to the money, I think that I remember there was a time after the Specie Resumption Act, one of my ancestors was in a Civil War vet marching out of Chicago in Coxey's army on Washington, D.C., and that was the reason why there was so much dissatisfaction with the economic collapse in the country at that time was due to the Specie Resumption Act. So when I hear bringing back the gold as the back of the currency. Well, what that means is who controls the gold controls the currency.
No, it's a great point. And I mean, that's why we carry the film, dealing with gold and silver. And, what's the name of it? It's named after, the filmmaker actually named it after something I told him on air years ago. It's funny, I can't remember the name of it, and I actually named the film. It's called something Oz. It's at InfoWarsShop.com, and it breaks all that down. The Secret of Oz. There you go. Let's try. I named it, and I can't remember it. Marcia in Texas, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex. I know everybody's been yammering about health care, but were you aware the president signed another executive order on Monday? And it is very, very bizarre. And there's been no coverage of it. And apparently, he declared a national emergency. So I'm not sure why the networks haven't picked this up.
No, I've covered it, ma'am. I've covered it twice. But, I mean, there's so much chatter going on, mainly from me, that you may have missed it. They always announce a new emergency every year since the War Powers Act of 1913 and our precious Roosevelt, who made everybody turn their gold into him, and then he gave it to the foreign banks. Of course, my great-grandfather up in Dallas, who owned the first Chevy dealership up there, he didn't turn his in. And so but side issue. It just shows how incredible all this has gotten. Yes, Obama has a new executive order. It's at whitehouse.gov.
Russian highly enriched uranium. We don't think, now they think the Russians.
Well, I mean, just saying that the Russians and that Eastern Europe has highly enriched uranium leaking out, that just allows them to say, since we're in a crisis, we can ignore the Bill of Rights and Constitution, you know, when we take your family farm.
Right. Right. It just seemed to me that just the timing that now they're blaming the Russians for taking down the Syrian jet fighter. That all of a sudden
now the Pentagon has come out and said they think the Russians helped shoot that down. I mean, this is all barreling towards very serious conflict, and Vladimir Putin has threatened to nuke the United States, Eastern Europe, so is Medvedev, and so it's just huge escalation. Let's go ahead and talk to Angie in North Carolina. You're on the air. Welcome.
Hi, Alex. I want to talk real quick about the Obamacare, but since you just addressed the Second Amendment and some of the issues going on with that, I have a real quick T-shirt and bumper sticker idea for you. You know how the T-shirt with the rifle on it that says, "Come and take it"? Well, I'm thinking about a T-shirt or a bumper sticker with a rifle on it that says, "Because my rights are not up for a vote." I think that might clear up some confusion that people have. They think that our Second Amendment is about sporting and whatnot, and it's not.
Well, here's the problem. Kurt Nimmo wrote a great article earlier in the week that the Obamacare sets a very dangerous Second Amendment precedent, and the ATF and Hillary agree. I mean, they're saying under the Unidentification Treaty that says all small arms are first to be registered and then banned, that they want the abolition, quote, of civilian ownership of firearms because it threatens the legitimate power monopoly of the state. Well, I think a power monopoly of the state, a.k.a. North Korea, is not legitimate. And folks don't understand. I mean, they're hurdling. The globalists don't care if a bunch of military and cops get killed enforcing this. They want a civil war. In fact, they're looking forward to it. The only way out of this is for grand juries to start indicting people. We did it to Bernie Madoff. His brother just got convicted. We can go after all these people. But there's this new Americana love of bureaucrats and love of bankers and love of government. God bless you, ma'am. I appreciate your call. Let me play this one more time. Again, all over the news, they're saying we're run by foreign banks. Global government's good. We're slaves. It's good. Here's CNBC saying how great it is to be a slave. One more time.
Mostly what they do is hold summits. I think that right now the question is, do we all work for central bankers? That's what I want to address to our guest tonight. Is this global governance at last? Is it one world, the central bankers in charge? Jim Urio, you say we've got some downside here, a correction in the markets. Fine. But aren't we all just living and dying for what the central banks do? Aren't we all just counting on the fact that there's a Bernanke put and that we won't go any lower than, say, 5% down from here?
Of course we are, because if we look at the economic data, there's nothing to get excited about.
It goes on for three more minutes, going, oh, we're slaves to world government, but it's a good thing. They know best. Folks, they're only getting away with this because the public is ignorant, because the mainstream media has made sure. But not even really that. It's in the financial publications that most of the money these big banks make is government money, government contracts, administering the welfare, bailouts. And that these banks then are predatory, putting in regulations that they're exempt from to shut down their competition. The big mega banks fund the communism and socialism because they're offshore exempt from it. They funded Lenin, they funded Hitler. Look it up. The monopoly men against us. And they will cause a civil war unless we get the truth out about them. America's still a great country. We can reverse this. See you back tomorrow. High noon, Central 11.